So, hello and welcome to the latest in the Earn, Learn, Thrive LinkedIn Lives. And with me today, I'm delighted to welcome Abby Fulbrook. And we're going to be talking about getting more visible as a freelance teacher and what that means over and above posting content on social media. So, Abby, would you like to just start off by introducing yourself a bit for anybody who may not know you?
Thank you. I'm Abby. I am an English teacher of about 17 years. I am British originally and I live in Japan now. And in my working life, I've worked in schools in the UK and in Japan and online. And recently, well, not recently, 5 years ago, was made redundant from the school that I worked in Japan. And since then have worked online for myself. And as things have evolved, I've been involved with my online summits, doing online summits, which Rachel has kindly presented at. And now I'm running a directory of English teachers. So focusing on getting to English learners and connecting learners and teachers together.
Such a good idea to cut out the middleman. I guess you are kind of the middleman, but you're a very pro teacher middleman, which is a very different thing.
It's different. Yeah, people say, well, this is another platform. It's not, because the way it works from the teacher side is it's a membership for teachers. You pay $10 a month and you get your profile in the directory. You can also list your courses and lessons, whatever resources that you've got. And learners contact you, the teacher, directly. And I don't take any commission. I don't take any sort of fees from those contacts, and those contacts are yours to keep. So that's the big difference.
Mm-hmm.
This directory at weareenglishteachers.com is a directory. It's a listings. It's not there to, take your money, really.
Well, it's a huge difference, actually, I would say. And of course, this does relate to what we're going to be talking about today, because, one of the key ways, I think, to get more visible is absolutely to collaborate with other people in the space. And I think this is a really good example of that. Just wanted to say, I've just seen Daniel commenting, this sounds like a great initiative. So those of you who are watching us live, do let us know that you're here. Please feel free to comment, to ask questions, just to say hi, because we're over on StreamYard doing this, so we can't actually see kind of what's happening on LinkedIn. So it's nice to know that there are people there listening to us. So let's talk a bit then about getting more visible, because there are lots of different ways that we can do this, but I think we should start, as we've just started talking about it, about this idea of collaborating, of using other people's audiences, if you like, as a shortcut, because I think you and I both agree that this is something which I think very few people are leveraging, that I see, and that actually is probably the quickest and easiest way to build your audience. So, yeah, what do you think about that, Abby?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I really encourage. Using other people's audiences, I mean, it immediately gets you in front of people who don't know you, probably, but that are the right people for you. Let's say, for argument's sake, say podcasts. Somebody has a podcast for learners. They're advanced materials and they do conversation. So you know exactly what you're going to say to those people. You know who the listeners are, and they're sort of ready-made for you to chat to, and they want to. They're there to listen. They're there to learn, so they want to learn and hear new people as well. And that goes for the hosts as well, because it's hard coming up with the content all the time by yourself. So you can help people out. We're saying, as happened with this interview, I
Say, yeah.
emailed Rachel. People don't know how it happens, but I emailed Rachel and said, please, can I come and talk to you and your audience about these things, visibility, about getting in front of people and collaborations. If you can offer people, podcast hosts, YouTube channel people, bloggers, whoever it is, you can offer them something that they need to say to their audience, that they want their audience to hear, you're in. Basically, it's easy.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And I think podcasts is one of the things that first comes to mind. But, it could be other things, couldn't it? Like contributing to a guest blog, for example. It could be something like, if somebody else has a group program, you might go in and do a session for them. It could be like running a joint thing. So I did a joint workshop with Emily Bryson not that long ago, and we kind of brought together our skills because she was using her graphic skills and I was using my coaching skills, and it kind of came together very nicely. And it means that those people who follow Emily get to find out more about me and vice versa. So it's kind of a win-win from that point
always.
of
view. Yeah, it is. And it's surprisingly easy to do. And this is how it's always been. So before I was a teacher, I worked in media, in PR. And people don't realize how actually easy it is to get into a newspaper or to a magazine. You need to approach the right people and say, this is what I can talk about. What do you think? And they either say yes or no.
You had something in The Guardian, didn't you?
Well, yes, I know. People, that was amazing. But things like that. I love doing letters to The Guardian or any newspaper, to be honest. I did it quite frequently when I was working for a charity in the UK. And it's basically your 3-paragraph essay. If you've done exams, you know exactly what to put. Say, I agree with the argument. This is what I think. This is what we've got to do in the future. Bush, done. That's your letter to the editor. And yeah, I did that. A sort of last minute thing, but letters to the editor work because not many people do them. So if it's well written and it's relevant to the topic that was in the paper before, then you've got it made, really. So I highly recommend, whenever you see something that's relevant to you and your audience and your learners, do a letter to the editor. Say, I agree, I don't agree, this is why, and this is what we need to do in the future. Bush.
Yeah, well, it's a great tip because not only do you then have the readership of that newspaper, but you can also then post about having done that, and you've got kind of the status, if you like, from having been published in, a magazine or a newspaper. So it, it kind of goes both ways, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And this is how people get those, when you're looking at the website and they say, as seen in blah, 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 whatever it is. And that's because they've approached people and said, I can talk about this, I can do that for your audience. And whoever it is, content creators, journalists, they all need help with the content creation, traditional media or new media, whatever it is. So you're helping people by, offering your expertise, writing letters, writing comments. For sure, do it.
Totally agree. I mean, sometimes what I do hear from people quite often is that they're worried about, the competition. And so I think, I think to a degree, I get where they're coming from. But I think, firstly, you can collaborate with people who are not doing exactly the same thing as you so that it's more complementary. But I think actually, personally, I think even if they are doing something really similar, that can still be a good thing because who you are as a teacher is going to be different from who somebody else is as a teacher. And it might be that your offers are quite similar, but they're going to choose who they kind of resonate with the most. And so, you're just giving some of your audience an opportunity to find somebody who suits them better, and vice versa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's extremely rare that you'd come across a teacher who's doing exactly the same and specializing in exactly the same as you. But yeah, even then, you've still got things to offer that are different from another teacher. You've got a different perspective, different background knowledge. Just different way of framing things. But also repetition, that was what I was going to say. Repetition is really good for learners. We all need things repeated.
I was just going to say, not just learners of a language, but all of us need to hear the same things lots of times, which I guess leads us into this concept that's very much related to this of like 8 touches. Not that it's necessarily 8, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
So in the olden days when I was working in PR, this is an old idea that when you're buying something, when you're thinking about purchasing, it can take 8 touches. That means opportunities to see or hear about something before you buy. So of course it's different if you're buying a sandwich. Maybe you see the sandwich, you want it, that's only 1 touch. But if you're buying a car, if you're investing in coaching, if you're something big, a house, you're going to need more opportunities to see and hear about the agents, about the model of the car, about all the details that you need. It's a lot of information you get before you even consider purchasing. So repetition is a good thing because it's going to take at least 13 touches before you're actually ready to purchase. So by using other people's audiences, you can get out there. You can say essentially the same thing every time, but that all contributes to someone learning about you, learning about the way you teach, and then getting to know you, getting to trust you, and ultimately making the purchase.
Yes, it's that kind of familiarity, trust. And I totally agree with it. It builds up in thin layers is how I often describe it, like kind of papier-mâché, until it eventually makes something solid enough that people feel ready to take that next step.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so why it might seem kind of difficult to go and approach people about podcasts, appearing on podcasts. You could be saying the same thing. Essentially, you are saying the same thing each time. Every time someone's going to take away something a little bit different, or they're going to be reassured that you know what you're talking about, because here you are yet again saying the same thing, and having a conversation on the same lines with people. Like kids, like little kids love repetition. We need to do it when we are marketing, when we're selling, when we're learning language as well. It is good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Because people, we know this about learning a language, but then I think it's easy to forget. And one of the things I come across a lot with teachers, and I guess I'm talking more about sort of social media posts here, but I think it applies to all the marketing, is just not doing enough of it, like just giving up way too soon, posting once or twice, and then not getting students immediately, and assuming that this is because nobody wants what they offer, everybody else is better. And when it's just not that at all, it's just nowhere near enough, together with the fact that most people probably haven't even seen it. But even the people who have, they need those touches, as you say.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. So instead of, trying to think of 10 different ideas to come up to be posting over 2 weeks, you can be, talking about the same thing for 2 weeks. And very few people are going to see every single piece of content you create. But the more times you're saying the same things, the more opportunities you've got to get that message through to people. Yeah, it's really, I know for yourself, it gets really boring. You say, I'm the same thing again, really. But it's yeah, essential. There's this fact about Coca-Cola that's really interesting. Everyone knows Coca-Cola. Can't escape it. It's everywhere in the world. But if they stopped doing all their paid promotions, their advertising, their marketing, the business would fail in 7 years. And this is a brand that's been around more than 100 years. But they have to keep telling people that they exist. They have to keep reminding, Coke is around. Don't forget to drink. Otherwise, in 7 years, they'll be gone. So, yeah, you need to do that as well with your lessons, with your coaching, because you're not Coca-Cola. You definitely need more, more repetition.
Exactly, I was going to say. But yeah, because Daniel says in the comments, I feel like I tend to give up too early, so this resonates with me. Yeah, absolutely. You are not alone. I hear this a lot. And together with that, I hear I don't want to annoy people. I don't want to bore people. You were saying can get boring. And again, I think something that people don't always realize is that it's not like a Clockwork Orange. They're not sitting there with their eyelids like held open, being forced to consume everything that you put out. If they're not interested, they'll just scroll past, or they won't listen to the podcast episode, or
Exactly.
People do have agency in that, and they'll miss a lot of it even if they want to see it.
Yeah. You do. We're all so busy. If think about the emails that you've had today. Can you actually name all the people that you've got an email from in the past 24 hours? Can you actually say what they were asking you about? No, I guess not. So, don't be afraid to repeat yourself. Yeah, you have to get a bit of tolerance in yourself. Like, again, I feel like I'm saying the same thing, but they're not hearing it yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've started talking about mindset around this, and I think this is a big part of it, isn't it? As you say, sort of having the courage to reach out to people and recognizing that actually they will be probably quite keen because it's good for them too. But also that sort of the thing about another thing that people often say to me is that sort of showing off, blowing my own trumpet, bragging, those kinds of things. And I feel this is a misconception. It's like, as a teacher, if somebody, asked you to explain the present perfect and you were like, oh, well, I don't want to show off, like, I know this, but, I don't want to show off about it. I mean, how useful would that be?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it is totally a mindset thing, because when you're working for another company, or you're working in a company, you have that distance. Like you can talk about the company's work without feeling show-offy. But when it's your business, when it's your thing, I can understand that feeling that, it's just my little teaching thing I do. But goodness, you've got to, if you can't talk about your work, then no one is going to talk about it. So getting that sort of distance between yourself and your business, your work, is really important to be able to go out there and say, this is what my business is, this is what we we do this, the royal we. This is what I do, and yeah, just little bit of distance, I think, would help with that kind of feeling.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, what I often say to people is, because people have this big thing of like, I've got to learn to sell myself, is what another thing I often hear. I do try to say to people, like, you're not selling yourself, you're selling a service that can help other people, and they need to hear about it. And I think, it's similar really to what you're saying about sort of distancing yourself. Of course, you're a big part of that, because, if you're the teacher or the trainer or the coach, of course, you are part of that, but you're not actually selling yourself. You're selling the results you can help people achieve. You're selling the experience, the process, which is a different thing.
Yeah. I was working with someone who would say it's a bit like when you have kids, or you if you don't have kids, it's like your niece, your nephew, a child is growing up that you're very proud of, and you could talk about them for hours and days, and you say, oh, they did this and they did that, and it was, oh, it's so cute and so wonderful, and how amazing that kids learn these things, and that in a way is how you got to talk about your business. It's like you're growing this kid, you're raising this kid, you're raising your business, and how amazing that it's doing all these things and it can do these things. So I don't know if that's a helpful metaphor for some people, but yeah, it's kind of, in a way, you're not controlling your kid. You can't control how they develop. You do with your business, but it's something that can have its own life.
Yeah, no, I think that's a nice metaphor. Definitely. Just having a look at the comments. Oh, hi, Margaret. And yeah, Marcella saying, I also tend to give up quite early. Oh, thank you, Marcella. She says, thanks to Rachel's program, I feel like I'm making progress and I'm motivated to keep at it. Well, that's a big part of what I do on my group program, for sure. Do you have, just talking to the people who are with us live, if you have any questions, then please do feel free to pop those in, because we've still got about 7 or 8 minutes of the talk yet, so we've got time to deal with some questions. Let's go back though to, you mentioned quite near the beginning, I think, about like commenting on other people's stuff, because I think this is another thing that gets really overlooked. People feel that everything they do has to be a big thing. But actually, I think commenting is important. Sorry, say a bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. In LinkedIn, especially, you get the notifications when someone's commented on a mutual contacts post, don't you? So it's social media. So that's the idea. Be social. Get out there. Put your opinions. Give your advice. Be helpful to people. You don't have to be spammy about it. It's not. It is building up social contacts. Be human, for sure. Don't AI your answers. Do it as a person. Respond as a human. And yeah, that's going to build your network, both in terms of actual contacts, but also people get to understand what you're doing, and people will recommend, Abby's got this website of directory. Rachel does this coaching. You might want to contact her. Yeah, people, when you're active, when you're helping other people with their posts as well, they appreciate it as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Again, I think we've agreed all the way through this, but I think people do underestimate the power of that, because if you put a good comment in, something that is reflective and makes people think a bit, people will go and check out your profile. And then from there, they will probably follow you. And then from there, they may, eventually decide to become your client. So it can have a really powerful impact. But you're so right. It needs to be authentic, because I am seeing increasingly, I think, with AI, comments that were so clearly written by a bot. And it's really annoying, actually, because, particularly when it's people who are direct competitors. As I say, I have no issue with competitors commenting on my posts genuinely, but when I can see it's a bot and it's just purely done to try to attract the people who are following me, that's annoying.
Yeah, it is. And also, make your comments valuable, because it's things like just like 2 words, I agree, or a good point, or if you're going to go to the effort of making a comment, then make it worthwhile. Say something, ask a question, I agree, I disagree, elaborate a bit. It's like getting our students to say more in their exams. Don't just take your own advice, teachers. Say more. Explain why you think that, or why you disagree. Ask a question. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but good parallel. I mean, so much, I think, of marketing is actually like teaching, like coming up with a good like CTA or call to action on a post, for example, is very much like coming up with a discussion question that people are actually going to want to talk about, rather than go, oh, I don't know, teacher. Like, we should be able to do that.
Yeah. It's really is. It's teaching skills, and it's a good way to think about your when you think you've got to sell things. Don't think about selling, don't think about marketing, but think about, I'm going to teach people today. I'm going to teach people about my lessons and my course. I'm going to tell them, it's this, and by the end of it, they'll feel this. That's another marketing thing. By the end of the course, you will blur. It's exactly the same as your lesson plans say that we're all trained to do. By the end of the lesson, the students will blah, blah, blah. It's the same. You've got to tell people, by the end of the course, you will, by the end of the lesson, you will X, Y, Z. Just the same as a lesson plan.
Yeah, I think you can really overthink this. I mean, partly it is, I think, because people look at what they see online, and not all marketing is like that. I mean, some marketing is quite sort of manipulative and sleazy, but that's not the kind that we want to do, and it's not the kind you have to do. You can absolutely approach it as a teacher. And Diana's saying comparing teaching with marketing is very powerful. This helps me a lot. Yeah, because you have those skills, and they are transferable. It's just recognizing, how you can transfer them.
Yeah, exactly. I followed someone, I think we both did the course, and he was not a teacher, but he never mentioned the word sell, and he never said anything about marketing, but he would always say, I'm going to teach people today. I'm going to teach them about my course. I'm going to teach them about the fun times that we have. And he'd always actually use the word teach, and he would never say sell. So yeah, that's somebody who was not a teacher at all. I noticed, and that made, I guess for him, that was also a mindset thing. Although he was, bringing in millions from his course, he still needed to have that. I'm a teacher. I'm not just, sleazy bro selling stuff, but I'm helping and I'm teaching people. And I've also got to teach them about what I do and how I can help them.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with selling. I feel I have to say this because, if you have a business and you wish to eat, you need to sell. But there's selling which is identifying what it is that people really want and need and showing them how what you've got fits that, and then they make the decision. And then there's selling, which is whether this person needs or want this or not, I'm going to force it down their throat, you know, and that's what we want to avoid. But the first type of selling, I think, it has a lot in common with teaching.
Yeah. So going back to the visibility side, when you're visible, when you're doing collaborations with whoever it is, where, you know, your learners are, I also wanted to say about being broader with your work. Instead, I think I've been thinking about this recently a lot, about how people say concentrate on one channel, like just go LinkedIn is your channel. You're going to post on there every day, twice a day, and only on LinkedIn. And I think that's kind of not the way to do it anymore, because people are not just on LinkedIn. You know, your people are not spending 24 hours just looking at LinkedIn. So if you want to get there faster with, you know, counting up the number of touches you're making, you need to be a bit broader. You need to be doing podcasts, writing blogs, spreading the word on Instagram or TikTok. But again, you can say the same things on all of these platforms. You don't have to make up new stuff. The message is the same basically on all of them. So I wonder if we should be spreading ourselves a bit thinner this way, saying the same things to lots of different people in lots of different places, rather than digging down with lots of different messages on one platform.
Interesting. So that opens up an enormous topic, like 3 minutes over the time.
Sorry.
I mean,
sorry.
No, I'm just thinking what I think about that. I mean, I do agree to a degree, if you like, because I think what I've come to the conclusion is that I think everybody needs, at least ultimately, some kind of long form content, which would be something like YouTube or podcasting or blog posts or giving workshops, you know, something where people can really kind of get stuck in to what you're talking about. And that often that's the place where you will kind of attract new people in who kind of come across you, you know, on a YouTube or whatever. And then you also need the sort of more short form content, which is more nurturing, if you like, more the people who already know you. Certainly these days, it's hard to get new people on social media, than much harder than it used to be because of the algorithm. And that's more kind of just repeating similar things. And you can use the long form to turn into the short form. You know? And I think, I mean, I'm on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, but I don't spend much time on Facebook and Instagram, honestly, because I don't think I can find enough time to go deep on 3 of them. So that's kind of how I see it, is I've got my main platform, yes, and I do believe in that, because that's where you build the relationships. But it doesn't do any harm to also be popping up elsewhere. So yes, it's kind of qualified. I agree with you there. But you know, I think there are lots of different ways of looking at this, and you know, everybody. I think you make very good points there as well. And it's people have to find what works for them too, don't they?
That's true. That is true. And yeah, if you like creating new stuff and that's your thing, go for it. But it's just recently that I've started to think about this, that, you know, why not spread yourself out a bit more? But you don't have to make up new things. You can just be saying the same things in different places, because your audience, they are on LinkedIn and they are on Facebook and they are possibly on TikTok as well. So, you know, get them on all the things. they're listening to podcasts. So, show up around.
Well, certainly, the more you show up, the more impact you'll have. But it is balancing that out, isn't it? Like Mary says, with the overwhelm of, I've got to do all the things, So I guess, and it's different for different people's businesses. It's different depending on how many people you need as well. Because if you have a membership, you need to be bringing in lots of people all the time. Whereas if you have a kind of one-to-one service, you've probably got a ceiling of how many people you actually want to have, so that's going to make a difference too. Oh, fascinating. Okay, I really think we should wrap it up because we've gone 5 minutes over, but it's such an interesting conversation. So any last words, Abby, to round up?
Yes, do more. Talk more about what you're offering people. Don't be shy of your business. People want to learn, so help them to learn. Tell them what you're working on, how you can help them, and keep going.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that then, Abby. Really interesting to talk to you. Great range of things that we discussed. Thank you everybody who was here live. And if you're watching later on replay and you have any questions, tag us and we can come back and answer the questions later. So thanks very much, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.